Welcome back. I'm trying something new with the intro. Instead of having it in like a couple seconds in, it's now just right there in your face. I realized I forgot to do the Travis Scott thing. Missed opportunity. But it's okay. We'll have it edited in some random clip. It'll be funny. But your perspective matters. You know, your perspective matters so much. Mainly because no one else has that perspective. That's right, I said it. No one else has the perspective you have. No one can ever recreate you. You are so unique that your perspective matters as much as anyone else's. And that is why I want to urge everyone who is watching this to go out there and share that perspective. You know, sure, you can write a song like Drake, but it'll never be a song by Drake because it's from his perspective. It's the way he sees the world. Sure, you can copy Basquiat like people do poorly, but you'll never be Basquiat. You'll never have the same level of connection to that style and the messages you're portraying because it's not your lived experience. What I'm trying to say is be so you that it hurts. Be so you that people, when they meet you, they cannot say anything but, yes, that is that guy, or that girl, or that person. Be you. And, obviously, like every episode, I think I've said this, it's a lot easier said than done. I still struggle with kind of being myself, even though I feel like I express myself more frequently than the common person. You know, uh, Making art and writing and doing all these things really helps you kind of tap into that. Um, and it doesn't necessarily have to be art. You could just journal. I guess we count that as like literature, so it's still art. But you're expressing yourself, and a lot of times when you pretend to be someone else, it'll consume you. Pretending to be someone else will kind of kill you on the inside. After a while of doing it, you'll feel so lost and just like adrift at sea. And that's not a feeling anyone should really be feeling. That and being alone, worst things you could feel. And that's why you need to be yourself. Because if you're yourself, other people will realize, hey, that person's doing it. I'm going to do it too. I'm going to be myself. And now suddenly you're starting a chain reaction, a little butterfly effect. One interaction with one person leads them to change, and then them changing leads to another person changing. And soon enough, people are comfortable in their own skin. People are willing to embrace their faults. People are willing to embrace others' faults. You know, Being yourself gives you the ability to give others grace. You know, I know a lot of people, even me, um, I don't really put myself first. I feel like in realistic situations, I try to make others happy. It's a very unhealthy habit. But in doing so, I kind of tricked my brain. I did some reverse psychology. I was like, if I am myself, I can help others. And to be able to help others, I need to work on myself. And through that, boom, I slowly started changing, still changing. You never stop. That's kind of the beauty of it. But Yeah, you need to really be yourself because your perspective is so important. No one else in the world will see it the exact same way you see it. The other day I saw a tree. It was hanging, and its branches, the way they kind of hung, made it look like there was a face on the wall. And I pointed it out to my sister, and she just looked at me as if I was the craziest person ever. Which, in all honesty, she is very valid for saying that. I tend to annoy her on a damn near minute basis. But, it started to make me realize like, she doesn't see the thing I see. And that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It's just she doesn't see it the way I see it. And that's why my perspective is important. You know, you are unique. You are important. You matter more than anything else. Because if you can focus on yourself, you're able to blossom and impact others in ways that you could never imagine. You know, I've had a lot of people, not a lot, I think one specific person comes to mind. I had not talked to this friend in so long, but I reached out and I was like, how are you doing? I haven't seen you since high school. And, the conversation went out and he told me, like, look, I love what you're doing with your art. It really pushed me to become more open with who I am. Now, I know that kind of sounds like glaze, but I want you to take away from the story not that it's about me. I want you to realize that if you are yourself and if you take risks and you push yourself, other people will have positive impacts on their lives. And who doesn't like some positivity, right? Unless you're like some evil people, you lose nothing by helping others. And to truly help others, you need to be yourself. You need to offer that perspective. You need to offer your mindset and your experiences. Now, this does come with kind of like a, pause. Like, that doesn't mean just be unfiltered and say whatever comes to your mind first. You know, you have to assess. In middle school they'll teach the Swiss cheese method. I don't know if any of y'all are familiar with that, but it's very much like your idea. Let's say we're having a conversation, blah blah blah, boop, sudden idea light bulb goes off, and then you run it through these things. Is what I'll say hurtful to the person talking to me? No. Is what I say give meaning or depth to the conversation we're having, or am I just being silly? Whoosh. And as you kind of filter it out, you realize, that idea I had was good. It was maybe funny to me, but if I said it out loud, it would detract from the moment I'm having with this person, or it would make this person feel worse than they already do. Not that they feel bad, but they will not be in as good of a position as they were. And now I have saved myself and that person from an awkward scenario or even just, upsetting them. Now, you shouldn't be afraid to upset people, but there are situations in which you do not need to. The truth hurts. Obviously, if my friend asks, "Oh, do you like my haircut?" and it's an atrocious haircut, I'm going to tell him. That shit is ass. But if, you know, he's going through a tough time, he needs cheering up. I understand the circumstances here. That Swiss cheese filter runs. I'm like, that's a great haircut. You know, it's so situational, but you need to understand when to use it. It's like a superpower. You need to be able to apply your perspective and think, hey, will what I say help or hurt this person? You know, And it goes back to the whole thing of like, you need to be you, because you just have to. You are so unique, you are so special, and for you to pretend that you aren't, and for you to pretend that you are someone else, it's it's like having a handful of diamonds and just whoop, throwing them away. You know, you have so much preciousness in yourself, and you're just not valuing it. You know, I used to think that I am the most boring human being ever. Still probably am. But it's like people would be like, "Oh, what do you do for fun?" Man, I sit on my ass all day. I kind of just scroll Instagram reels. I play video games. I cook. I like cleaning. I like, building stuff. I build model kits. And then you slowly start realizing, wait, I'm not the most boring person ever. I actually do stuff. I'm just worried the person's going to judge me for the things I do. If I'm like, yeah, I really love video games, or yeah, I really like building model kits, or yeah, I really like painting. Say it. Show parts of you that you want to show. Like, no one's gonna judge you. Sticks and stones may break your bones, words can't hurt you, blah, blah, blah. In that sense, you need to not be afraid of yourself and who you are. You need to stop hiding. And I'm looking at you when I say this, You matter. You are so valuable to the universe. The chances of you existing are so slim. And then they get even slimmer and slimmer and slimmer when you add up all the experiences you've lived through. You have conquered so many uphill battles. You have accomplished so many things. Why are you not being you? Stop pretending and just let yourself live. Hopefully, in the next episode, we can talk about culture again. Obviously, culture is a very much umbrella term, so every episode is about culture. But, like more of a deep dive, I really want to kind of go into my roots and how they inspire me, um, and how they helped me being me. A little tie back to the current conversation. But yeah, just be you. And with that, I'll see you next time.